Today, we are plugging into the world of electric vehicles. Now, you probably think of EVs as this super recent, high-tech revolution, right? But what if I told you their story is less of a revolution and more of a comeback? I'm talking about a technology that was once the king of the road, then it just vanished for decades. And now it's staging one of the biggest returns in history. So let's kick things off with a question that might just flip what you think you know. Okay, quick pop quiz to get our gears turning. What do you think came first? The gasoline-powered car or the electric car? Now, I bet you have an answer in your head already, but the reality is this fantastic piece of forgotten history. And the answer, which might actually surprise you, is the electric car. And it's not even close. This is where our story begins, with this totally unexpected history. It's a tale of innovation, fierce competition, and a technology that was, way, way ahead of its time. Just look at this timeline. It reveals something incredible. We're talking about crude electric carriages way back in the 1830s. By 1900, at the very dawn of the automotive age, nearly 40%, 40, of all cars in the US were electric. They were quiet, they were clean, they were super easy to operate. You didn't have to break your arm with a difficult hand crank to start the engine. But then a 1-2 punch changed everything. First, the electric starter for gas cars in 1912, and then Henry Ford's incredibly cheap Model T. By the 1930s, the first electric car era, well, it was over. Okay, so if gasoline cars won that battle so completely, what happened? What on earth sparked the modern comeback and brought the EV back from the dead? Well, it was a mix of things, really. The oil crises in the 70s, growing worries about the environment, and of course, huge leaps in battery technology. All of that set the stage for a second act. So let's jump to the modern era and see how this comeback story is really unfolding. Let's be honest, the modern EV market can feel like a bowl of alphabet soup. You've got HEV, PHEV, BEV, FCEV. It's confusing. But trust me, understanding these acronyms is the key to getting a handle on the electric car world today. So let's break down this modern EV family one type at a time. First up, we have the HEV, which stands for Hybrid Electric Vehicle. This is the original, the one you're probably most familiar with. It's the car that brought this whole electric assist idea to the masses. And here's the most important thing to remember. You cannot plug this car in. So how does it actually work? Well, think of the electric motor as a helpful sidekick to the gasoline engine. It jumps in to help out, especially in city driving, to save a bunch of fuel. The battery is pretty small, and it gets its juice from something called regenerative braking, which is this really cool trick where the car recycles its own energy every time you hit the brakes. It's great for boosting your miles per gallon, but that electric-only range is tiny. At the end of the day, you're still running on gasoline. All right. Now we're going to level up from that standard hybrid to something that gives you a real taste of what electric driving is all about, the plug-in hybrid. This is where things start to get really interesting. So a PHEV, or a plug-in hybrid, is, well, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's still a hybrid, so you've got both a gas engine and an electric motor. But, and this is the big but, it has a much bigger battery that you can actually plug into an outlet to charge just like you charge your phone. This is the best of both worlds car. With a PHEV, you can do most of your daily driving, 20 to 50 miles or so on pure electric power, without using a single drop of gas. But if you need to take a long road trip, that gasoline engine is right there as your backup. This is the technology that's really acting as a bridge for a lot of people, because it completely gets rid of that range anxiety, that fear of running out of juice that worries so many potential EV buyers. Okay, now we're moving on to the vehicles that completely cut the cord from gasoline. These are the true zero tailpipe emission titans of the EV world. This is the BEV, or battery electric vehicle. And let's be clear, when most people just say electric car, this is what they're talking about. No gas engine, no oil changes, no exhaust pipe. It runs on nothing but electricity stored in a battery. BEVs are the champions of clean air with absolutely zero tailpipe emissions. And the driving experience? It's totally different. It's unbelievably quiet and incredibly smooth. You refuel by plugging into a charging station, either at home or out on the road. And yeah, while the early models had some pretty limited range, a lot of the modern BEVs can now go well over 300 miles on a single charge. And finally, we have the most futuristic and definitely the least common member of the family, the FCEV, or fuel cell electric vehicle. Now get this, it's an electric car, But it doesn't store electricity in a battery. It actually makes its own electricity right there on board. How cool is this technology? An FCEV has a tank that you fill up with hydrogen gas. Then a fuel cell stack combines that hydrogen with oxygen from the air around it. That creates a chemical reaction that produces electricity, and that electricity powers the motor. And the only thing that comes out of the tailpipe? Pure water vapor. Refueling is as quick as a gas car, but here's the huge catch. Try finding a hydrogen station. They're incredibly rare. The infrastructure just isn't there yet. Okay, let's put it all together real quick. This chart is a great way to see it all at once. You've got your HEV, which is all about fuel efficiency, without ever needing to plug in. Then there's the PHEV, that perfect bridge to electric driving. The BEV is your all-electric, pure experience. And the FCEV offers that super fast refueling with zero emissions, but it's got that massive infrastructure problem. Each one has its own clear pros and cons. So yeah, the EV comeback is in full swing, but it's not a perfectly smooth ride. Let's take a look at some of the major speed bumps that the whole industry is working hard to get over. You know, for EVs to really become the new normal, there are still some pretty big hurdles. You've got the high upfront cost, you've got that range anxiety we talked about, that fear of getting stranded, and then there's the simple fact that charging still takes way longer than a 5-minute stop at a gas station. Solving these core challenges is basically mission number one for the entire industry right now. But here's the good news. Major steps are being taken to tackle these problems head-on. A perfect example is the U.S. Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which is putting a massive $7.5 billion specifically towards building out a national network of EV chargers. That's a direct shot at solving that infrastructure and range anxiety problem. And this chart right here, it shows you exactly why that money is so critical. When you look at fast chargers, the kind you really need for convenient road trips, the U.S. is kind of playing catch-up. In China, 40% of all public chargers are fast chargers. Here in the US, it's only about half that. Closing that gap is absolutely essential to make long-distance EV travel a reality for everyone. You know, this quote from a former GM bigwig just captures the spark of the modern EV revolution perfectly. For years, the big, established car companies saw an electric future as something way, way off. But then, as he says, boom, along comes Tesla. They were the disruptive force that proved what was possible and basically forced the entire industry to hit the accelerator on their own plans. They were the crowbar that broke up that logjam. Which brings us right to our final question. We've seen the electric car's forgotten golden age, we've untangled its complex modern family, and we've looked at the big challenges it still faces. So as we look to the horizon, which one of these technologies is going to win the race for our roads? Will it be the all-in battery electric, the super flexible plug-in hybrid, or maybe even that hydrogen-powered long shot? The race is on, and the future of how we all get around is being decided as we speak.